Hey VC, it's TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report. I'm here to respond to a vinyl tag from three people, two of whom are friends, one's an acquaintance, Beth at Red Rum Records, David Newton at Unsightly Vinyl, and his horror channel also, and Steve at Value Vinyl. It is the 2021 soundtrack tag 2, but because I wasn't here in time for last year's soundtrack tag, I'm giving you a bonus. I'm doing both of them. 20 questions, all about soundtracks. I'm a big soundtrack fan. And so this is going to be part vinyl, part Magic Box, because a lot of them I only have on CD, and that means they're in the computer, so I'll just bring up the stuff when I talk about it, but I do have it on CD. And so here we go. We're going to answer the 10 questions from the 2021 tag first, and then we will get to the 2020 tag. By the way, my shirt, wearing my horror-themed wrestler Danhausen shirt for my horror friends out there. Thought it was appropriate. So I'm TC Hausen doing his Danhausen for the vinyl community Hausen. Here we go. Questions from these. They were hard. I got to admit, I had to go through and I actually don't have answers for two of them, and I'll talk about those in a minute. Let me adjust the camera a little bit. First up, the oldest year-wise soundtrack or score in your collection. I don't have a lot of old scores, but I did just pick up one in a recent record crate buy that I haven't listened to yet, but I love the composer, and I can't wait to hear it. It is the soundtrack from Federico Fellini's La Dolce Vita. Nino Rota is the composer. I first discovered Nino Rota on the Paranoid Park soundtrack, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, and love his stuff. He is very avant-garde, and it's just very different from anything else I've ever heard. I cannot wait to spend this. I need to finish getting my turntable set up because it's been sitting here for 2 weeks and I haven't finished it. I got to do that. So my oldest, this is a I believe, from what I've researched on Discogs, this is a 1961 pressing of the soundtrack from 1959, also from the UK. La Dolce Vita from Nino Rota, film from Federico Fellini. A soundtrack that needs a reissue or a first-time release on vinyl. I couldn't narrow it down to one. I got three. The first up, Ennio Morricone's awesome score from Danger Diabolic. I have loved this score since I first heard it when it aired as the final episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000 on the Sci-Fi Channel, I think in 97 or 98. Adore that score. It is so out there and so unique and so 1960s. Trying to find it has been a bitch because you can get a CD copy of it for 50 or 60 bucks now. I mean, when I first saw them about 20 years ago at cons, they were running $200-300. I'd love to see that come out on vinyl or even a CD re-release. That would be within my price range. The second one, Gus Van Zant's Paranoid Park. I just talked about that. Paranoid Park was never released in the States as a soundtrack. The one I have, I ordered as an import. It's from France. Paranoid Park is my favorite Gus Van Sant film. It's one of my top films of all time. And if you haven't seen it and you like mysteries and you enjoy skateboarding, it's a very highly recommended film. It has an eclectic mix of different styles of music. It has a number of Nino Rota tracks. It has Elliott Smith. This is where I first heard him and became a huge fan. It has a band called The Revolts, which is a Hispanic punk band out of Los Angeles, who were featured as the stars of Larry Clark's What's Up Rockers a few years ago. It also has classic songs on it, including Billy Swan's I Can Help. Could do without that. But Paranoid Park, I'd love to see a vinyl release of that. Thirdly, David, what's his last name? I got to get it right here. David Buckley's awesome score from the 2008, I believe, feature film The Forbidden Kingdom. Forbidden Kingdom, I was immediately drawn to because I am a huge fan of its main second lead, Michael Angarano. I love him in practically everything he's done. But of course, it stars Jet Li and Jackie Chan in their first film together, and it is a terrific film. The soundtrack is off the track, top notch. And I love the CD, but I would love to see it on vinyl. I think it would be very cool. So those are the three things I think need first time release or a reissue on vinyl: Danger Diabolic, Paranoid Park, and The Forbidden Kingdom. Most valuable soundtrack or score in your collection. I'm going to go sentimental here. For many years, I had a track from the soundtrack of a TV miniseries documentary called Oceanscape by William Goldstein on a sampler disc. It was, I forget which sampler it was. The song was called Whale 2, and it's only not even 2 minutes long, and it's just utterly beautiful. I searched for years looking for the Oceanscape soundtrack. It only came out on CD as far as I know. One day I just happened to be crate digging at a bookstore in Cambridge at Porter Square, and there it was for $1. Brand new CD, William Goldstein's Oceanscape. I have listened to this thing backwards and forwards so many times. It is one of my all-time favorite albums. It's music, it's ethereal. Of course, Oceanscape is about basically it's a documentary about the condition of the oceans in the late 80s when it aired, and also about helping whales and such, which was an in thing thanks to Star Trek 4 back then. Marvelous soundtrack, electronic in nature. If you like electronic music, you'll like this a lot. It's a lot of synthesizers. It is an utterly beautiful soundtrack, and I keep this close to the breast. It's extremely hard to find, but the entire album was posted by Mr. Goldstein on YouTube Music, so you can hear it, and I will have a link to it in the show notes, so please listen to it. It's awesome. William Goldstein's Oceanscape, my most valuable soundtrack or score. Sentimental value. Bargain bin soundtrack or score, I gotta pass on this one. I haven't been bin shopping for ages, and I don't know what's out there. I remember seeing a lot of My Fair Lady when I would dig through the used things in Spokane when I was a teenager. But I honestly haven't been crate digging in years, not in this way, and so I'm gonna pass on that one. Favorite colored soundtrack or score? Well, this is kind of limited. I only have one, and this is another pickup I made from Record Crate. This is the soundtrack from the 1979 movie Harper Valley PTA, starring Barbara Eden in the title role. It is printed, or pressed rather, on green vinyl from Plantation Records. This is the only colored vinyl I have on a soundtrack. I saw this movie years ago, and it's kind of dippy. The TV series that they later did on it was terrible, even though Barbara Eden reprised her role. It's a wasted, a 2-hour waste of time, but it's fun. It's not terrible. So green vinyl for colored vinyl soundtrack or score, Harper Valley PTA. Like I said, only one I have on colored vinyl. Favorite artwork? Okay, don't laugh at me, okay? Love this album. Love this special. It is one of my favorite TV specials of this nature, simply because it's just so out there, you can't miss it. And the artwork is classic Charles Schultz, Flash Beagle. From the 1983 or 84 CBS television special, it's Flash Beagle, Charlie Brown. It features Desiree Goyette and Joey Scarberry, who is best known for the theme from The Greatest American Hero, doing the title track, plus all the great stuff from that special, a few additional songs, and the vocal version of the theme from the Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show, also by Desiree Goyette. Fantastic album. Yeah, it's a kid's album. So what? It's peanuts. Give me a break. Best artwork, Flash Beagle. Most underrated score composer, in my opinion. Oh man, I love scores, and there's so many good things out there. I think my most underrated, in America at least, is Tan Dun. Tan Dun did the score from two of my all-time favorite films, the marvelous Ang Lee film Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and the Zhang Yimou epic Hero. I love the scores from these movies. too many people in America don't really pay attention to him. But he is an amazing musician. He knows right where everything fits perfectly in the film. He had a lot of help from the artists he worked with. He worked with, I believe, Yo-Yo Ma on Crouching Tiger, and Itzhak Perlman, and the drum-based band Kodo on Hero. Fantastic scores. Hero is one of my all-time favorite films too. It just kills me every time I watch it. So if you've never heard them, seek them out. Seek Town Dune's work out too. I gotta get a drink. My mouth's water. My mouth's getting dry here. Hold on a second. Favorite song from a soundtrack or score that is your jam? Well, that's tough. It's really tough, because I mean, I'm thinking, I have 30 years of soundtracks around here, you know, pop soundtracks, score soundtracks. But when it comes to my jams, feel-good music, fun music, I'd play a lot of these if I knew I wasn't going to get dinged by YouTube, because so many of these are from The Orchard, and they hate doing these. I'm not sure about this one, but I played it before and got dinged, so I'm not doing it. But I love the song. I love the film. It is one of my favorite films, and it's delicious. So my personal jam, Drive It Like You Stole It, from the film Sing Street. The video, I have to say, people who know Ferdia Walsh-Pilo as an actor, he was in Vikings, he's in a number of other things, and haven't seen Sing Street, do not know what a tremendous musician this young man is. I really think he is going to be huge in music when he can find the time, because that's his first love. And I love his voice here. This very Daryl Hall, John Oates inspired little ditty is very, very terrific, and the video is hella fun. If you've never seen it, you can see the music video on YouTube. Drive It Like You Stole It from Sing Street, my favorite soundtrack score song that is my jam. Two different soundtracks or scores that use different versions of the same song. Well, two whole movies use Beatles music, and they use various different titles. There's Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Ah! This is to scare the Beatles fans. From 1978, with interpretations by Peter Frampton, the Bee Gees, George Burns, and a whole host of other ones. And then there's the mid-2000s movie Across the Universe, which I actually ended up really loving. This movie features a lot of the same songs. I'm not going to pick out any particular one. I Am the Walrus comes to mind for both of them. It is terrific, and way better than Sgt. Pepper. The cast of that film includes Jim Sturgis, Joe Anderson. That's terrible, because I haven't seen it for a while. I loved it, but I haven't seen it for a while. And great stuff, and really well done Beatles interpretations. So different versions of the same songs: Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and Across the Universe. A soundtrack that you own that you could part with either because of condition or that you don't listen to or never had time to. I spent a great deal of money getting this soundtrack. I think I spent $30 on it, and it was a disappointment. I'm one of the few people out there that loved the animated film Pokemon 2000. I think it's the best of the Pokemon films. I love the story. I love the music in it. And I particularly like John Powell's score. So I reached out and picked up the soundtrack from the original Japanese release, Pokemon Revelation Lugia. I don't like it nearly as well. I've only listened to it 1 or 2 times, and I wouldn't be adverse to getting rid of it. I just didn't like it as well as I liked the score selection on the American release. So Pokemon fans can scream at me if they want to, but I just didn't care for it. So I wouldn't mind getting rid of Revelation Lugia. I wouldn't be terribly disappointed if I was to find a way to sell it or gift it to somebody, because if they're really looking for it. I have it. I mean, I have it on MP3, so I'll always have it. But getting rid of the physical copy wouldn't bother me at all. So those are the 10 questions from the 2021 soundtrack tag. Now, da 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 da, bonus time. I came into the VC about 6 weeks after Beth and Steve and David posted their 2020 soundtrack tag, and I want to do that one too. So here we go, retro, a year later, diddle-doo, diddle-doo, diddle-doo. Going back to June 2020 and the original soundtrack tag, the first motion picture soundtrack you ever bought. As I said on a recent contest entry for Dr. October, the first thing I ever bought with my own money was Star Trek The Next Generation. Or Star Trek The Motion Picture, sorry. Love this score. I had scores in my collection before that my mother had bought me. Star Wars, Benji, a number of other things. Annie, the Broadway show. But this was the first thing I bought with my own money, and I still listen to it constantly. It's awesome. Star Trek, the motion picture from Jerry Goldsmith. The newest soundtrack in my collection, this is a Record Store Day release, and it's not a full soundtrack. It's like kind of like an EP. It is the soundtrack from the 2020 film The Turning. It's called Kate's Diary. I got this for one reason and one reason only, and it's on the hype sticker. I don't know if I can get it on camera. Where is it? There we go. Yeah. See that? Fenn Wolfhard's band, the Aubreys? That's the only reason why I got it. I was a huge fan of Calpurnia, and I like the stuff that Finn and Malcolm Craig have done as the Aubreys, and this is entirely the reason why I got it. Of course, Finn was one of the stars of this film, too. The Turning, Kate's Diary from 2020. The soundtracks I listen to the most. Beth, David, Steve, you're killing me here. I've picked 6. Because I can't get around them. I've showed Star Trek The Motion Picture, which I still listen constantly to. And these are the other 2 films I showed on Dr. October's entry. The Never-Ending Story, Klaus Doldinger and Giorgio Moroder. And Mark Knopfler's Cal. I love these. The other 3 that I listen to constantly, even now, Howard Shore's score for The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. The awesome score from Tandoon from Hero. And Alex Werman's marvelous score for the documentary March of the Penguins. Those 6 soundtrack scores have gotten more play from me in the last 15 years than anything else. Cal hasn't, because I haven't had it on MP3, but the other ones I have, and I listen to it all the time. Your favorite composer. I split this into 2, and I have more than one. I can't choose just one. My favorite classic composer is Jerry Goldsmith, and that's thanks to Star Trek The Motion Picture. Love his stuff. It's awesome. Everything he does is terrific. Now I have 3, and I have a real hard time splitting them up. I just mentioned one, Howard Shore, who does the wonderful Lord of the Rings trilogy. All of them are great, but I love Fellowship especially. Then there's Michael Giaccino. Michael Giaccino has written a lot of good scores over the last few years, but the one that I love the most and listen to the most is his soundtrack from the 2008 film Speed Racer. I also love his soundtrack from the 2009 film Star Trek. Michael Giacchino is just one of my favorite composers right now, and love his stuff no matter what he does. I've always enjoyed it. And finally, Michael Brooke. Michael Brooke is not that well known, but he did the beautiful underscore music. There's not much of it from the 2012 film The Perks of Being a Wallflower, which is my all-time favorite film at this point. And it's a very short album. It's not even 20 minutes, but it has a marvelous ethereal quality that fits the movie to a T everywhere. If you've never seen the film, I urge you to see it. It's awesome. The soundtrack is also awesome with all the great pop music on it, but the score album, hard to come by these days, absolutely splendid. So, favorite current composers, Michael Giacchino, Michael Brooke, and Howard Shore. Drink time. Favorite instrumental score, The Never-Ending Story. I love that score so much. The differences between Giorgio Moroder's wonderful synthesizer stuff and Klaus Doldinger's orchestral stuff I mean, it's just it's a classic soundtrack for all time, and really, you never can get sick of it. I don't get sick of it. Another awesome movie with a horrible soundtrack. You know, I thought and thought and thought about this. I couldn't come up with one, and I'll tell you why. If I don't like the soundtrack, I don't buy it. So, you know, if I love the movie and I love the score, I have the soundtrack. If I have the soundtrack, I love the score, or the music therein. There isn't any that I really I can't really think of one that has a horrible soundtrack that the movie was really great. So, because a lot of times that'll affect my like of the movie too. However, on the other end, awesome soundtrack, terrible movie, Surf Ninjas. I spent money to see this at the theater because I'm a huge fan of Ernie Reyes Jr. I'm not a fan of Rob Schneider. Never been a fan of Rob Schneider. I wasted $8.50 or whatever it was for this utterly awful film and came out loving the soundtrack. The soundtrack has a great version of Barbara Ann by the Bobs, which is terrific. It has a lot of classic music, a lot of surf music on it, and the soundtrack is worth getting. Stay away from the movie. The movie sucks. Song by your favorite artist or band that's featured on the soundtrack. Good Lord, do you guys know how hard this was? Well, I had to pick my favorite artist, and you guys know my 3 favorite artists, and 2 of them have done music. Def Leppard has never done official soundtrack stuff, although Let's Get Rocked was an Encino Man, and other stuff has been in there too, but they've never recorded anything for it. But this one I have to go back to my all-time favorites, and that's the Carpenters. They only did one actual soundtrack song. For All We Know was a huge hit. It was from the film Lovers and Other Strangers, but their version is not featured in the movie, and it was a cover of the one that was. So that doesn't count. But Bless the Beasts and Children was written for that movie. It is on the soundtrack for the film. And although it wasn't an A-side, it did chart on its own on both the Hot 100 and the Billboard Adult Contemporary chart, then known as the Easy Listening chart, back in 1971 when the film came out. It was the flip side of their single Superstar, and is featured on I believe the Carpenters' self-titled envelope-style third album, the Tan album. It's either on that or A Song for You, I forget which one. Great song. The movie's not great. I've seen it years ago. I wasn't that thrilled with it, but the song is fantastic, and always will be one of my favorite songs by them. So my favorite song are featured on a soundtrack by my favorite artists, Carpenters, and Bless the Beast and Children. Number 9, share a soundtrack you think everyone should own. Well, not only do I think everyone should own the soundtrack, I think everyone should see the film. And not that many have. It was a very small indie film. Raves at Sundance when it was there in 2006 or 2007. It is a hilarious black comedy called Wrist Cutters, A Love Story. If you've never seen this film, you should. Patrick Fugit, Shannon Sossamon, Shea Wiggum, Tom Waits, John Hawkes, a whole bunch of great people, in a story that takes place almost entirely in what my wife and I have affectionately dubbed Suicide Land. Everyone in the film has committed suicide already. It is a hilarious, dark, comic, romantic film, and brilliant, and I wish it had been a bigger hit. The soundtrack is what made me a fan of Google Bordello. One of their songs, Through the Roof and Underground, is used as the central theme for the song, for the film. There's other kinds of great stuff on here, ranging from Billie Holiday's Gloomy Sunday to instrumental pieces. A great instrumental piece called The Beach, which is played over a part of the song, part of the movie. If you've never seen Wrist Cutters, which is it was my number 1 film for a while, you need to see it. It's a great film, and the soundtrack is utterly terrific. And if you find it in a bargain bin or someplace, grab it, because you won't be disappointed. It's eclectic music mix of everything is just awesome. Everybody should own that soundtrack. Finally, soundtrack rails or wants. as I said, I still would love to have Danger Diabolic on either CD or vinyl. CD is preferable, but vinyl's okay too, as long as it's in good shape or a re-release. The music is just terrific, and I've been looking for that for 20 years. Just haven't been able to afford it. I also was very disappointed that I missed out on Record Store Day's release of Philip Glass's Koyaanisqatsi. It just went too fast. There weren't enough copies, and people are asking $150 for it. I'm not paying that much money for it. I love the score. I love that film, and it's just an amazing work. Philip Glass is an acquired taste, and certain things of his I'm not a big fan of, but all three of his scores from the Scotzi trilogy are awesome. And Koyaanisqatsi, I would love to have that reissued copy from Orange Music last year. It's just terrific. So that is both the 2020 and the 2021 soundtrack tags. I got fluff flying all around here. I hope you like it. And Beth and David and Steve and Crotchy, thank you for coming up with great questions for this. And I hope you like my responses. Don't forget to like and subscribe my channel. I hope you will continue to give me a thumbs up. Want to get those subs up. I'm stuck at 116 as of the last few weeks. Want to get up there. Come on, come on. Keep me going up. Keep spreading the word. Keep telling your friends to check me out. I appreciate all of you listening. Don't forget to leave a comment. I love hearing from you, and I try to respond to everybody within a few days at the most. And don't forget, if you haven't done so already, schedule and get your COVID-19 vaccine shot. I got mine Thursday. In the meantime, enjoy the music. Have fun with vinyl, CDs, MP3s. All music is awesome, no matter what. Like I always quote from Empire Records, music is the glue of the world. It holds it all together. Without it, life would be meaningless. And I believe that too. Until next time, I'm T.C. Kirkham for the Kirkham Report. See you later.